Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Helloween, and this is a new horror slasher film from writer-director Phil Clayton, and this film focuses on during the 2016's killer clown craze. Dr. Marks and journalist Parker trace the source to jailed serial killer Kane, recruiting followers for an anarchist movement. With Kane escaped, they race to stop his murderous Halloween scheme. And this film is, you could tell, made for a little bit of a tighter budget, and it does do a lot with a little. And it's a really well put together, inspired horror film. Right off the bat, you notice with Robert Jeffrey Hughes and Chris Hurst's score, it has that very kind of synthy Carpenter 80s kind of horror vibes that really work for the film. Just the idea of a bunch of people with their faces painted like clowns is just terrifying to begin with, so you start off with a good concept. But this idea of somebody where a lot of horror films have possessions, but this is a possession of ideas. Putting ideas in people's minds, pulling them towards this anarchist movement, and Kane is a charismatic figure that is able to accomplish those things. And I think one of the biggest things for this film is the performance from Ronan Summers, who plays Kane. He has this deep voice that's commanding and eerie, and he really works it. There's scenes where it's he starts off captive, and it gives off Hannibal Lecter vibes of people interrogating him, but it's he's sitting in a dark corner, and you see just bits of his clownish looking face and all those elements, and just his presence and his intensity with how he portrays this character. It's this seems like a cultish leader who could affect the minds of people, but also somebody intimidating enough to, freak you the hell out. And that element really works for the film. I think you have some strong performances from Michael Paré, who plays Parker, Janine Narissa Southcott, who plays Dr. Marks. I think she winds up giving some good energy as this, not quite final girl, but she's the one who's being really targeted, as this film deals with some interesting ideas in terms of mental health and its effects on serial killers and cultish things like this, but also the media. And it generally cuts away to these moments of media coverage and how that kind of frames the whole entire situation. I appreciate that Clayton explores that mental health part and that media aspect of some situation like this, and those are both manifested in the two main characters, one being a doctor, one being a journalist. The film does lean a little bit into home invasion elements, and there's certainly borrowing of cliches and setups from plenty of other films, but I think what Clayton's able to do is execute it very well and bring an eerie atmosphere along with the score and how they portray Kane on screen. And you have I think the makeup's really well done and inspired to make this eerie kind of experience. It's also messy and crazy enough to really fit that anarchist kind of vibe, but also enough where it's new members can quickly glop that on and feel like they're part of this whole thing. And that representation of people turning is an interesting visualization of that idea. This film's 80 minutes. It's lean, it's mean, it has its scary moments, it has its unnerving thrills, and sure, there's definitely moments, especially even the end, where it's just we've seen those kinds of choices from a storytelling perspective in so many horror films, but this one is really well executed, has an inspired casting choice for its central antagonist, and has some interesting little layers of ideas that come into play in the film, and just generally that idea of the infection of the mind and how that can expand and cause such horrific things like what happened in this film. But those are my thoughts on Helloween. Let me know what you think and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.